the great minds that we have, why is it that the country is not moving forward? At a point we were deceiving ourselves, in broad daylight, that things were going to happen. Nobody was talking about the how. We kept consuming empty promises made by politicians every election year. And the report that came out over the weekend was very, very, very telling on where we are as a nation. Out of 109 countries that were part of that survey, Nigeria took 101 out of 109. We had countries like Togo, like Ghana, even the Democratic Republic of Congo, that's been embroiled in all sort of turmoil, also was ahead of us on that survey. Mali, oh yes, Mali was there too. And then you look at that and you realize that government plays a key role in what happens in a country. I'm going to read some of the other countries that were in that survey. Zimbabwe, Senegal, Nigeria beat only 7 countries on the continent: Ethiopia, South Sudan, Eritrea, DR Congo, Sudan, Libya, and Somalia. So the Nigerian passport is now ranked 101 out of 199 countries. Very, very disturbing. Behind Togo, Niger, Chad, and others. Japan took the number 1 place on the list. Singapore came second. South Korea and Germany tied for third. But that's not what we're talking about. That's just a reality, of what we have become. People like using the term giant of Africa. I haven't heard that in a while, but that was a thing once upon a time in history. And many countries in Africa, with what they have done, Rwanda, case in point, you want to ask yourself again, are we the giant? So one of the things that, some people have pushed for, that, for them would be a move towards sanitizing elections in Nigeria, which is how we get people into offices that will determine what happens in our lives, in our businesses, in our communities, education, health, our well-being in general, our finances. So that's it. Electronic voting was part of what, has been a key ingredient in discussions about elections in Nigeria. One of which is that it is going to reduce human interference and participation, And the National Assembly, the Senate rather, on Thursday passed the Electoral Amendment Bill. There was a lot of tension over how electronic transmission of votes should be implemented. A report by the Senate Committee on INEC had suggested that electronic transmission be employed by INEC where practicable, as contained in Section 52.3 of the bill. But a senator, during consideration of the report, moved that INEC should only consider electronic transmission if the national network coverage is judged to be adequate and secure. Okay. And then Senator Ali Ndume seconded it, and then it was just, a noisy house after that. But they voted. Some voted for NCC clearance, others did not. And over the weekend, INEC came out to say, no, we are capable of doing that. Recall that sometime ago, NCC had said only 8% of the country didn't have that kind of network. And also 3G, we're talking 3G when other countries have gone 4G and 5G. Anyway, this morning we'll talk about this. I have my guest on the phone already, Dr. Timipere Allison. He's head of programs at the Center for Democracy and Development. Where are we? Good morning, Doctor. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me on air today. I hope you can hear me loud and clear.
Yes, but it seems like you're on speaker. Could you take it off speaker? Sounds a bit distant. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So,
hear me now?
Yes. I'm sure you followed the proceedings.
Hello?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Okay, so I think it's okay for you to go back to speaker. Let's see if that'll be better. Hello?
Hello. Is it better now?
Yes, it's better now. You can hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you.
Fantastic. All right. So I suppose that you followed the proceedings at the National Assembly.
Yes. We have been following this proceedings even before the Senate or the House of Reps decided to take a vote. We have been pursuing this whole reform of the electoral process as far as 2018.
All right. So what did the dissenting voices mean to you?
It means that we are still very far from achieving a strong and reliable electoral system. I mean, and another thing that these dissenting voices in the parliament tend to reveal is that most people we think represent us in the parliament actually represent their self-interest. So if there is any doubt that many representatives do not care about public opinion or the overwhelming decision of the majority of Nigerians, then I think this is an example that they don't care about what you say.
Okay, so would you say that the assembly saying that INEC should be allowed to take that decision is giving INEC too much powers?
No, not at all. Not at all. INEC has over the years shown its capacity to integrate technology in the different forms, different levels of our electoral process. I think the most recent is the ongoing online voter registration exercise, which is happening. But before that, we've had the card reader introduced that has been running for 6 years. And then, of course, in the Ondo and Edo elections of last year, I think we had the trialing of electronic transmission. So INEC hasn't shown its propensity to abuse powers, and by the constitutional mandate, the Commission is supposed to independently make laws or not laws this time, regulations guiding the conduct of elections, so long as it will lead to credible outcomes.
Okay, so the NCC had said a few months ago that less than 8,000 polling units don't have the network for this electronic voting transmission of results to happen. Do you think that, this is, between then and now, the NCC could have done something to ensure that we have more areas covered? This is 2021. We've had GSM now for about 12 years or longer? No, about 20 years. Right?
This is 20 years.
20
now.
years, yes. 20 years. So the NCC is saying 8,000 polling units are not covered. Between when they said that and now, isn't it possible that they could have done something, with the telecoms companies to cover those areas?
I think they could have done something. So, and this position of the NCC may be very misleading and perhaps confusing to many people. Because if you check online for the recent data on access to GSM, you see that Nigeria is almost 90% covered by GSM. But it is the data coverage, internet coverage, that we are still low at 50 or 51%. But that is not to say we do not have the capacity to have electronic transmission of results. Remember, INEC said in 2018, prior to making recommendations to the National Assembly on this bill to replace the current Electoral Act, there was a meeting with the NCC and the telecommunications companies where they all agreed that it was feasible to have electronic transmission. So even in locations where you are either unable to have immediate internet access, all you need to do is after the election, you declare the result at the polling unit, you click on transmit results. So whenever the INEC officials move to a location where there is internet coverage, it automatically moves to the server. So no one can enter any gap project.
Okay, so INEC is conducting electronic registration. Like you said, they've transmitted results electronically in the past, but do you think that there are areas that they need to strengthen, that will make this easier if we're going to adopt it moving forward nationwide?
You speak specifically regarding the transmission of results, or generally about INEC's ability to integrate them?
All of the above.
Oh, definitely. This is work in progress, and we come from the part of the world where the use of technology may not be as advanced as elsewhere. But that is not to say we haven't been face setters in terms of technological innovation. And INEC has a very strong digital unit where we continue to make innovations. I mean, the card reader is no longer what it used to be 6 years ago when it was introduced. Same thing I would say that from the learning we have gained from electronic transmission trials in Edo and Ondo elections, I believe we will also have many improvements. The key thing to delivering credible elections and be able to transmit results electronically is to invest in the right technology. Today, we know the problem of cyber attacks on even the most advanced countries, but that is not to say you cannot secure the system. Blockchain technology provides a very strong solution. And then we have recommended to INEC that you don't have to just rely on electronic transmission of results. There should also be a paper trail that follows the digital trail. So a valid result will now be one that both the electronically transmitted result as well as the paper trail carries. So when there are discrepancies, then that election result is not valid. So besides that, INEC will also need to invest, seriously investing in training. In the past elections that we looked at, we noticed that not so much seems to have been done. Training most people in many polling unit officials struggle to even properly use the card reader, and many even find it difficult to do simple tabulation and providing final results. So absolutely, there is a lot to be done in terms of using INEC's capacity, but has the Commission shown that it has the ability to innovate and improve? Absolutely.
So the NCC last week said it cannot guarantee total safety for the electronic transmission of results, explaining that no system is completely free from hackers. How would you respond to that?
Yes, we know that. He doesn't have to tell us, or the NCC doesn't have to tell us. We know the system is totally free from hackers. Everything around us today runs via the digital space, from how banks transmit payment orders from one bank to another, or even internationally. You go to JAM today, you register, you get your results online. I mean, how often do we hear that those payment orders or JAM results or whatever change because some hackers attack the system? I know with election, it presents a particularly vulnerable situation because people who are desperate to win contested positions may invest a lot to compromise the system. But once we agree that we'll have an electronic system both for voting, for tabulating, and transmitting results, then we should consider those as part of our national security infrastructure. And when we have that recognition that this is national security infrastructure, you spend a lot on the best technology to protect it, and it's possible to have that done.
Okay, so where we are now, what do you think the president's action will be?
Yeah, this is what we are afraid that this whole drama could even take us further backwards. So, the presidency may just find a reason to not attend to this bill if finally both houses have agreed, and it is said to him that the disagreements prevail over electronic voting. Why I'm saying this is that in spite of all of these arguments going on now, the bill is a remarkable improvement on the 2010 Act that is now seeks to repeal and replace. For example, so many organizations, including my organization, the Center for Democracy and Development, have suggested financial autonomy for INEC, which has been integrated. We believe that's for the first election. And then provision for electronic voting. The 2010 Act doesn't allow for electronic voting, but now this allows for electronic voting. And then also the timeline for political parties to submit nominated candidates and all that. So that is a remarkable improvement. But if this disagreement persists, the presidency could say, okay, we think there has to be a compromise, so we are not going to accept this bill. And now we go back to the 2010 Electoral Act, which is very problematic. It does not even allow INEC to use the card reader. It doesn't.
All right. So some other people are of the opinion that, the action of the Assembly has whittled down the powers of INEC. Would you agree with them?
That is what they are trying to do. They are trying to whittle down the powers of INEC. For example, the suggestion that the National Assembly and NCC will have to okay INEC's decision to transmit elections electronically. It's an attempt to whittle down the powers of INEC. INEC has equal constitutional standing as the National Assembly. NCC doesn't have as much constitutional standing as INEC. INEC is a creation of the Constitution, the 1999 Constitution. I think it's section 183. Just as the National Assembly is the creation of the Constitution. If you must whittle INEC's powers, you have to review the Constitution, the appropriate section. This is different when you have to whittle down the powers of the NCC. Simple procedures in the House amending a particular law that the NCC can achieve that. But now you want to subject this independent organization to the dictate of NCC and now the National Assembly. I don't think that is acceptable. And it's unconstitutional. If it is taken to court, perhaps the court will make it clear that you cannot do that to a body that is mandated by law to act independently in the interest of the general public.
All right. So what does this say, in conclusion, about the kind of, representatives we have at the Assembly?
So like I said in my opening statement, it says that they do not care about public opinion. If you go on the street and ask people, do you think electronic transmission is good? Will it help our electoral process? The overwhelming response will be yes, even though there will be some concerns about the integrity of the system, how can we protect it from online and from cyber criminals. But overall, it shows that they don't care, they don't listen to the people. And it is because they understand that once we are able to take away all of these human
interferences,
human interference, then it becomes very difficult to undermine the electoral process. So it is in their own best interest to leave us with a system that is currently in place, which in many cases doesn't help with producing sound electoral outcomes.
All right, final question. Nnamdi Ayaw is writing from France, and he says, let's tell ourselves the truth. Nigeria is not yet mature for the electronic voting and transmission of results. Anybody calling for that now should go back to school.
I don't think so. He's writing from France, and I expect that he will know better, coming from a society where people have been digitizing for a long time. So let me make this point. So many times when we say we should integrate technology across the spectrum of our electoral process, many people say, oh, we are not mature for it. If it was such an effective system, why hasn't the US done it? Why hasn't the UK done it? Countries integrate technology in the electoral process for several reasons. Some, it is just to ease the process of voting and tabulation and transmission. Others do it because over time they just feel, okay, I think we should catch up with the time and then innovate. But Nigeria's case is very different. We have a challenge of people playing with votes people able to change the final outcomes of the election, that they do not even bear any semblance to what was announced at the unit level. So the result means the unit level. By the time it is at the coalition level, you see that the person who came last probably will become number one. So we are not doing this because it is a luxury. We are doing this because it will help to provide clear and credible electoral outcomes. The U.S. is not concerned about politicians changing figures. France is not concerned about politicians changing election figures. If they were, I bet you by now they would all be transmitted electronically. So our contributor from France should understand our peculiar situation and also speak logically.
So Tex writes in on WhatsApp, he's saying that would electronic transmission eradicate the disease he calls Nigerian election losers syndrome, which afflicts Nigerian politicians?
Yes, I think it will. If you have a system where you know that the result that was transmitted from unit level is the same result that you finally saw at coalition level, and you know that you have lost, I don't see how you want to spend your money to go to court and then, so what do you want the judges to do? To say the result that left the unit, which challenges what was announced at the coalition center, should be discarded? How do you do that? Many times it is these archaic system that we have in place where there are mutilations. You should see some final results that are announced. A lot of mutilations, a lot of corrections and all that. And it gives some people the reason to say, okay, perhaps it's court and argue that this result is very mutilated, very altered, because we say there was some manipulation. So the definitely will go a long way to stopping all of those post-election legal processes that turn our system into a confusing process.
And the violence?
Yeah, for violence too. Perhaps it will, but this is Nigeria, so we cannot completely rule that out. You saw what happened in Lagos during the 2019 election, where people went and then smashed ballot boxes, dumped the ballot papers in the drainage and all that. So individuals who suspect that they are losing could also attack these election gadgets and just destroy them just to make sure that is another round of election. Because once that happens, you know definitely INEC will cancel the election. So we cannot rule out the violence completely. But if we are able to get things straight where people understand that they can no longer cheat the system, they can no longer manipulate outcomes, perhaps they begin to invest more in campaigning and then selling their ideas to the population than trying to win through other means.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Timipere Allison, Head of Programs, Center for Democracy and Development, Abuja, for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so a commercial will play and then the lines will be opened. We just spoke with Dr. Allison about the decision by the National Assembly on electronic voting and transmission of results, rather, last Friday. My name is Enoh Enigma. Stay tuned.
This is the Morning Crossfire on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
All right, we've got 20 minutes and fun that before 9 o'clock, but for this conversation, just 20 minutes. My name is Enoh Enigma, and we're looking at the decision taken by the National Assembly on transmission of results electronically on Friday. Would you say that your representatives spoke your mind? Did they represent you well? We have the list. I'm not sure if we'll put it up, but we have the list of how they voted. 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003, 0817-923-0009 are the numbers to call. Our WhatsApp number 080-9030-6416. We're on Facebook at Nigeria Info PH. Feel free to join the conversation. Joe says, I see nothing wrong in the condition given by the Senate for electronic transmission of results. They're being realistic. Even INEC should not forget their logistics debacle in the last general election. Those shouting for electronic transmission may have something up their sleeves. Remember the Dubai server saga in the last presidential election. Joe, some people say that was just Atiku trying to, deflect. Anyway, let's take some calls. Good morning.
Good morning to you. And welcome back.
Thank you.
This is Mr. Zion. I'm calling you from Port Harcourt. You see, the truth is, let's look at the law that constitutes INEC. INEC was given the power to conduct elections. That is what the Constitution says. So how INEC role is processed is in the prerogative of INEC under the Act that formed INEC. Now, for the National Assembly to stand on this background against INEC, I would say it's an abuse of power. And I also blame INEC for bringing out themselves to the public, especially to the NAS, to discuss the activity, which is an aberration. So INEC should go back, just the Act, study it properly, and conduct an electronic system, and conduct Nigeria to a level of intellectualism. Not on this process of NAS is suggesting, people are suggesting, court is no. INEC don't need to go to court. Nobody can take INEC to court on their decision. We are conducting electronic voting. We are transmitting on electronic. It is in the power of INEC. So for the NAS to suggest by this instructing INEC on what to do is a total abuse of power.
All right, thank you very much for calling. We're Nigerian for. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, let's hear you.
Progress is here. Let me say that those who are opposed to the electronic transmission, as suggested in the attitude of the National Assembly, particularly the Senate, they are just afraid of what the Nigerian syndrome is, and that is election not reflecting what happened in the polling unit according to the analysts. It's clear that Nigeria is afraid, especially our politicians, our current politicians, are afraid by the time that this thing result is transmitted electronically. This group of people in power will no longer win. Then the right people, the sound mind, people who come and pick the system will now rule. Then they feel that they will be out of power. That is what I think. Let's cast our mind back. You will see that Mr. President has rejected or refused to sign the Electoral Act before, not once, not twice. This just because there are clauses that he does not like.
So what do you think is going to happen now?
Of people, what will make us to accept or think that this group of people will not vote against or vote for what President wants? They will not want it. But we all Nigerians will want electronic transmission. And ENEC has come out to say that we are ready, we are capable. Then what is their problem?
All right.
Let us go by what INEC says, and that is all. And that's what Nigeria wants, particularly myself, the electoral councillor. Thank you.
All right, they actually want INEC to decide where, when, and how. We're Nigerian phone.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Anthony coming from Omok.
All right, let's hear your comment on this matter.
You see, it's very sad that at this stage of our development, some people are against electronic media as a means of transmitting results. It's very, very bad. I watched what was happening that day at the Senate and the House of Reps. I was shedding tears because it's like some people trying to pull back.
Are you there? Okay, let's move on to the next one. Good morning. Good morning. All right, so on WhatsApp, I read Joe's message already. Hector says INEC has the power to transmit results electronically. This is digital world. If we can conduct JAM, Big Brother Naija, and we can transfer money electronically, why can't we conduct national and state elections electronically? INEC should be given the full mandate to practice international best practice. Good morning. Kingsley. INEC guideline for 2015 was compulsory use of card reader, but in courts, INEC aligned with those who banned on the card reader. So what assurance do we have that ad hoc staff won't be kidnapped and forced to transmit rigged results and INEC will accept? Kingsley. I'm not sure about that, but I think that the device would be at the voting, the polling unit. So once there's a compromise, then I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't think the results would be admitted. I hope some politicians will not have both the voting machine and the transmission device in their rooms on election day. Well, like my guest reference JAM, we haven't seen that anyone was able to change the results, by hacking. Aminu says, how come 80% of our towns and villages are filled with POS, and yet we're saying we're not ready, or right, rather, for electronic transmission of our results? We've got good luck from Amoma. Good luck, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Sister Enoh. PDP is threatening to approach court over the cancellation results. So my own question is, PDP, why will they approach the court? Let me remind PDP something. One of the factors of legitimacy is leadership. And this simply means that when a leader deep in needs during his or her tenure, people must not forget that regime. So PDP should put their thinking cap. Yeah, in the country, we are into the voting country, and Nigeria has not gotten that level of electronic voting or cancellation of results electronically. So PDP should note that they should stop threatening the country. Their tenure is over. Thank you, and God bless you.
Well, you cannot take away the power of any citizen, group, or organization to approach the courts. I mean, if they need some clarity, then the court will decide. We've got JAJ calling from Rumigbo this morning. Hello.
Yeah, good morning. You remember what happened in Florida? I think that was in 2005, George Bush versus candidate then, where there was a shutdown because of the electronic transmission of voting. Even recent election that brought in Biden, you saw the mailing and everything, and the distortion at the end of the day, where my homie Donald Trump was moving from one court to another. Those that have the technology are even thinking that they are tired of it, based on Justin Timberlake. And right here we are talking about technology that we don't even have the control. If the almighty U.S. Election can be hacked allegedly by Russia, then I wonder who we are. Just before you started this program, you talked about the reaching of Nigerian passports. If those are the top, like our people will say that if wind can carry stone, what will it not do to ordinary paper? So as far as I'm concerned, there are areas that are not covered by network. What do we do there? And if you are transmitting, we have not started transmitting. You saw what happened in 2019 where somebody brought massive results that they said they have cyber that they transfer results to. And I said we don't have cyber. Now, if they ask about what will happen with our, what I call it, lazy network, what we think will happen at the end of the day. So for me, if you are a fowl that is not up to the crowing stage, if it's crows, the truth will tear at the end of the day and will lead to serious crisis. So for me, let's take it easy for now. If not, 2023 will be so, I don't know how to say it, but what you see declared in the police unit and the world may be different from what the cyber receive at the end of the day, and nobody will help it. And conclusively, Enoh, when the lawmakers said they are throwing it open for INEC to decide, that's not a law. I remember INEC coming up with the card reader, and the Supreme Court said it's a very good idea, but all the lawmakers to put it into law so that it becomes a law. This one is not a law at all. Subjective is not a law. Thank you very much.
Well, they still would convene, I believe, today or this week to decide. Finalize what it is that happened on Friday, and then transmit to the president. But irrespective of the fact that there were several mentions of Russia meddling with the U.S. elections, the results were valid. Joe Biden won. David is in Yenagua. Let's hear you, David. Good morning.
Yes, my name is David West, Madam Enoh. Once again, good morning. Enoh, my position on this issue is this. I don't think if it is not for that Supreme Court judgment in the case of Jimmy Agbaje and Fashola, and also in the case of Dakuku Peter side and Yeson Wiki, that the Supreme Court came to whittle down the powers of the card reader. If the Supreme Court justices in their own wisdom, I don't know what informed their opinion, if they had gone ahead to give strength, validity in that their judgment to the card reader, we would not have been in this position where we are going back and forth. The Constitution is very clear, my sister. In Section 153, certain bodies were established. Paragraph S there is INEC. And if all the other bodies up to G are regulated, only policies that are regulating themselves are not challenged, then what is the problem with INEC? The law says INEC in Section 160, subsection 2, says INEC can regulate policies that it will use, form policies that it will use to regulate itself. So, in other words, it's going to ask for the powers you have. What the National Assembly is doing to me is not correct. They are not answering the question of the Supreme Court. The court said, go back and ask the National Assembly to give it legal backing. So it is expected of them to say, okay, INEC, if you want to go by way of electronic transmission of results, so be it. Put it in black and white.
All right.
For God's sake.
All right.
We are not saying it is going to correct all the anomalies of our elections, but to an extent, the idea of politicians looking...
David, thank you for calling. I believe the House did not say INEC cannot, but they're saying that INEC should decide. We've got Omeje from Rumudara. Good morning.
Hello.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, no?
Yes, you're Nigerian for Port Harcourt.
Okay, good morning. Yes, topic today is a very good topic. And my opinion there on the implication is clear. If we say we don't transmit electronically, we are inviting violence after voting on an election to be in it. Because whenever after voting, you see the politicians sleeping in hotels, they will come out and hijack the material on traffic to the collection center. From the local government, from the ward to local government and the state headquarters and the national level. So the implication of National Assembly action is that there will be more violence, more killings and more fighting after voting. It's not a good decision. It's going to put us backward. We can monitor our elections for 3 minutes, but we cannot monitor it on transit. But through that means, the INEC said, lives will be saved.
All right. We've got Daniel from Transformadi, final call this morning. Hello?
Yeah, good morning,
Dean?
For me, I think it's even sad that today we are talking about electronic voting and the electronic transmission when other countries is even talking about the 5G. But it's okay. It's Nigeria. So answer your question, how do we view the people that are representing me? I'm from the other state. We have the Deputy Senate President. The truth is that these individuals, they want the system will always make them to remain in the power. They don't want to change this country. They were just there for the purpose of the money. They were there for the purpose of power. They were there to make sure that they remain in the power. And the only way to make sure they are in the power is to manipulate the system. Because why should any individual in this 21st century start talking about we should be voting and rather than going electronic and we should be going all this manual thing in the name that we don't have the technology, we are not able. Now that INEC said they are able to do it, then they should be able to do what? Vote for electronic, let us have electronic vote and electronic transmission. That is the way the world is going. We are not far from the world. We are still in Nigeria, and Nigeria is a part of the global system. That is what I think. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel. If our passport is 101st out of 199 countries, I'm sure that answers where we are in the world. Henry Onoha is saying that he's advising all Nigerians to come out en masse in 2023 to vote out majority of these people in power from federal to ward levels, but the results will be transmitted electronically or manually because he's observed that what makes them rig election is the voting apathy by the masses in the name of their votes don't count and they don't like politics, not knowing virtually all their daily activities and survival depends on it. Yeah. Relish. INEC said they're ready for electronic transmission of results, but the National Assembly and NCC are saying otherwise. Anyone who's saying Nigeria is not ready for electronic voting should stop using the internet. They should stop using cards. They should stop using all banking services. Nigeria is only ready for creating grazing routes for cattle to move freely from north to south in the 21st century. And my question is, what will INEC decide? Why not the National Assembly implement it as a law? And what if it works or not? Remember, we have JAMB excising electronic results. And we go to WhatsApp. And the NC has made itself a willing and destructive tool in the hands of criminal politicians. GSM has been in existence for over 20 years. Isn't that 20 years now? Isn't that long enough time to have ensured that the entire country has network coverage? I don't see any difference in the electronic voting or what it will make. That's what Vic Thor thinks. It will only change the electoral process, not the same politicians recycling themselves. Trust me, they will still maneuver this one. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. I pray it works, but I doubt it. Where is it? Okay. Ernest is asking if electronic voting will stop our people from going to government to loot our nation. Try. That's why we are saying, civil society is saying you should be more concerned about who is going there in the first place. And one way to do that is to be actively involved in the process. We'll stop here. We'll wait for the final print and, of course, what happens afterwards. My name is Enoh Enigma. Thank you for joining the conversation. The news is up at 9 o'clock. Just stay tuned and have a good morning.